everyone, my name is Charlotte Westerheim from the Dancing Astrologer. Today I want to talk about Venus, which is the planet of love and harmony that entered into Scorpio yesterday on the 7th of November 2025. I am going to go through what we can expect when Venus is in Scorpio and what other planets Venus will meet throughout the time it is in Scorpio. First of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking and subscribing. If you like my content and if you're interested in hearing more. So today let's talk about Venus. So Venus in Scorpio is in its fall. It's not the easiest place for Venus to express itself. And it just spent some time in Libra from the 14th of October and up to the 6th of November. And have a think about how was this month for you. For me, that was a super socializing month. You know, a lot happening, get-togethers, parties, dinners, even stuff at work. So it was a time when Venus really is quite happy in Libra. It's exalted. It is easy to express itself. It's in its own sign. It's at home. It wants to create harmony, beauty, fun experiences, socializing, and so on and so forth. It's all about pleasure. So what happened when it enters into Scorpio? It's a completely different type of vibe, because who lives in Scorpio? The planet Mars and Pluto. Very, very different. You know, so here we have a kind of different tone behind the whole expression of Venus. So when you have Mars and Pluto together, first of all, we think about control. We think about competition. We think about having some power over or dominate, or somehow there is a discord. And this is what we often see when we think about, when I think about a dance and I think about Venus in Scorpio and I think about a dance, I definitely think about tango. You know, it's this Argentinian dance. It's like super intense. And it's a lot about every single movement is so controlled and it's full of passion, it's full of intensity. So if you imagine this kind of energy for Venus and Scorpio, you kind of get the gist of what to expect. This is why when we think about Venus and Scorpio, sometimes it brings up jealousy, it brings up competition and looking with envy on what other people have, what you feel that you don't have, or what you want to have. And this whole thing about jealousy and control and power, where does it come from? And the underlying theme, the way I see it, is like Scorpio stands for vulnerability, and it goes really, really deep with emotions. So when we love deeply and we love with intense passion, we're also scared to lose. That's why we want to control that what we have. If we have passion and love, we want to control that. We keep it that way. It stays that way. And that's why we get into control, and we're looking with skeptical eye. Is somebody eyeing, our partner or something we want? Maybe a job we want some, recognition, or we want a certain position. We want to be validated. And then when we see that go to somebody else, we get jealous and maybe revengeful. It's all part of the shadow side of Venus and Scorpio. And why is it there? It's there for us to learn to connect with our vulnerability and this inner courage, which comes from Mars as well, to dare to love, to dare to put ourselves out there. And when you love deeply, you also have the risk of losing and being heartbroken. But then again, we also think about Pluto is also ruling Scorpio, and Pluto is excellent at transforming the difficult feelings into a new expression. So this is why it's so intense with Venus in Scorpio. It is not at home in this position, but it's a time where we can really, really learn about our deeper feelings. And when we just came out of Libra, we was fun and socializing and easygoing, harmony, all that kind of stuff. It's almost like we want something else. We want to, peel off the layers. We want connection. We want deep connection. We want to go, become closer with somebody. We're going to get over the small talk. We talk about what really, really matters. So these are a few things about, Venus and Scorpio. And very often we feel this shift from what we just came from. That can almost be like this boom. We came from easygoing and light to more like, I wouldn't say heavy, but just more intense. It's just a different quality. One is not better than the other, but it's a very different quality. And of course, we always need to look at, where is Scorpio in our own chart, and read the house where some of these strong emotions might come up. It's also important to think about in your natal chart where, where the fixed signs are, where in what house do you have Aquarius, Leo, Taurus. Because if you have any degree, especially now the beginning of Venus and Scorpio, early degrees of any of those fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, there will be an opposition on square. So you might meet some opposition or some challenge, something you need to balance out in your own life. And depending on in which house it might fall, it can be family, it can be relationships, it can be things at work, it can be something with money. If you have planets early degrees of Taurus, for example, it can be have to do with material things, and very often in oppositions we meet a part of ourselves in another person. That is somebody stirring something up that is in ourselves that we need to look at. So what else is going to happen this month until the end of this November, when Venus is in Scorpio? Venus is going to meet a few other planets. So let's take a look at the chart. If I can share my screen. So here we see the chart for today. So I put it where I live in Switzerland. But the main thing is to see that we have Venus up here in the beginning of Scorpio. And immediately as Venus enters, it will meet Pluto in Aquarius. And when Venus meets Pluto, this is enhancing those qualities I just mentioned about, control, power, maybe jealousy, some competition, something that is a little uncomfortable, because it is bringing up to the surface our insecurity around love, around being loved, around feeling secure in love. Scorpio is a water sign, and every water sign, they have feelings running very, very deep, and more so for Scorpio. It is a very, very intense emotional sign, and this is where the control comes from. It is to not lose what you love. And immediately we have this Venus Pluto square, which means something might come up to the surface around competition, around envy, around frustration, that something that you want to keep and hold on to is not manifesting. So this is a challenge, but think about it this way. There will be some themes that will come up to the surface, but Venus is moving forward quite quickly, and it will just move on. So and we actually have a few weeks to settle with this theme. So later in the month, Venus will meet Mercury in Scorpio, and Mercury is retrograde. So there will be something around deep conversation later this month, maybe something you learned from the beginning of when you just had that Venus-Pluto connection. Something will come up, because when Mercury is in Scorpio, they want to talk about the real stuff, the deeper stuff, the personal stuff. We want to, throw open, something that we have been meaning to talk about for a while. When Mercury is in Scorpio, we don't want to do the small talking. We actually want to get into what really, really is important to us. So this happens around the 26th. So a little later that month, let me look at my notes. Yes. So on the 26th, we have Venus meeting Saturn in a trine. And here is about a bit maturity around our feelings. And it could be a really good theme that is coming from, Venus square Pluto. That when Venus comes in contact with Saturn, we have feelings around not feeling good enough, being insecure. And this could be something stemming from far, far away in the past, something around our conditioning when we were growing up. And when Saturn comes in connection with Venus, it also reminds us to grow up this part of us and to realize, where's this coming from? Maybe I can rewrite the script. And here you have the help of Pluto, because Pluto want to take what is difficult and bring it up to the surface so that it can be healed and transformed. And finally, when Venus is coming towards the end of the month, the 29th and 30th of November, it's going to meet Uranus in the early degrees of Taurus. Sorry, the late degrees of Taurus, of course. And this is very, very interesting because Uranus is also coming to the end of that cycle. And this means we are not in our lifetime, we're not going to have Uranus in Taurus again. It is going to enter into Gemini. So this is for you, for all of us, to think about what have we learned when Uranus has been in Taurus. And what have we learned about self-confidence, self-validation? What have we learned about our finances? And when we have Venus and Uranus in opposition, expect the unexpected, because wherever Uranus is, we will often have the opposite. So if you, for example, have been feeling overlooked at work, this might be the moment where this might change. Surprisingly, you suddenly have a win, or you have a change of situation, or you suddenly just recognized. If you, on the other hand, have been enjoying quite a free ride, this might be the time where Uranus comes in and take a sweep and say, well, wait a minute, it's time for you to actually show up and produce and not just ride on other people's goodwill. So wherever Uranus comes in, it will turn things on its head from the current situation, from status quo, so to speak. So there's a lot of things coming in for you, for all of us in this month. But first, take a deep breath and remember, it is for our own self-development and growth and insight, and it's for us to be embracing that passion within ourselves and to go with it and to be courageous about it and dare to be vulnerable, dare to express how we really feel, maybe about somebody, or even if it's about ourselves, and do our own healing work. So I hope this was somehow helpful. I would love to hear if anybody want to share where this falls in your chart, what kind of experiences you have had, perhaps with the meeting of Venus and Pluto, and what you are hoping to learn from this period as well. So thank you so much for watching. And if you want an in-depth astrology reading with me, you can look me up on my website, www.dancingastrologer.com, and I would love to speak to you and look into your chart and see how you can benefit in the best way of your own talents, your own gifts, and your own opportunities. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.